We have reached the essential formulas component of the intermediate section. We will be covering a lot of the main formulas that I have found beginners and intermediates have used as I've been training them. It by no means covers everything you can do in Tableau. The word cloud we're actually looking at right now is are the formulas that are a lot more comprehensive. Again, it doesn't cover all of them, mainly because I don't know all the formulas. There's just way too many to know, and I personally don't use all of them. So if there's one specifically you want me to cover that is not going to be covered in this course, please let me know and I'll add that in eventually. The ones we'll be covering are, if I come in here, are these ones right here. And we're going to begin with the aggregate formulas. Let's go through that. I'm going to first get rid of this filter that we have. We don't need that. Let's go back to the raw data set, which we have here, and let's go into sheet 1. We're going to start, and let's just clear all this out. I'm going to use the clear sheets formula just so we can get back to the basics. And we're going to start with the most basic one. And if you remember, let's do category, right? And let's do sales, our most basic one. If I bring sales up here, Tableau automatically aggregates, right? And the default aggregate is sum, right? But what if I want to actually calculate this instead of using the auto function of sums, right? Here's how I can do it. I can either right click on sales and go create calculated field, or I can click on this triangle right here and I can go create calculated field, or I can click on anything else, right, to do create calculated field. I can click in the white space. The only difference between right clicking on here and go in calculated field is that it brings in the field that you were already using. Whereas if I go into here and go create, it's just blank. Up to you, whichever you prefer. I prefer the right click on Mondays through Wednesdays, and then Thursdays through Fridays I use this one. So it's really up to you. And we're going to do this sum of sales calculation so that we can actually do formulas of this. Let's go sum of sales. And the way to do a sum, or the sum formula, or any formula really, is let's go sum. And as you can see, we have this f function, which is function. Let me do that again. Which is like from school, maybe you've seen like the f of x kind of thing. I think that's what that f really means. It just means function, right? We're going to go, oops, let me do that again, sum. And as you can see, it's now got the color, it's got the syntax, and I put whatever I want to sum up inside those brackets. This is not a sum, right? If I do that, whoops, hang on. See how it's a different color? Let me just show that again. So if I go like that, that is not a sum. It just thinks it's a word. So very important when you're using functions, it has to highlight blue and it has to become capital letters, okay? So let's go sum, right? Like so, and I can put something in there. I can either type sales, and when it comes up like this, I can click it. I can press tab on the keyboard. I prefer pressing tab just because it's a little bit quicker. And as you can see, it's now changed to orange. A lot of things in Tableau are color coded. So orange, and now I just have to close the bracket. And I know I have to because there's a little red squiggle. And from here, I can see that there's an error. Expected closing parenthesis or comma while parsing argument list for sum. If you work for Tableau and you're in charge of this, can you please write this in English? Just say, you are missing a bracket, y'all. That's all I really need to hear. You're missing a bracket. That's it. I don't need anything this complex, right? With the error handling comments. I need to know exactly what I'm screwing up and where to fix it. So please, something a little bit simpler if you are listening. So we have sum of sales. That's the first method. I can also go like this into this formula window. If you haven't got this, it's most likely because this thing hasn't been clicked on, because that minimizes and expands it if your one's missing. And I can go sum, double click on this, and it will add the formula for me. So a little bit easier. And also, instead of typing in sum, I can actually grab, sales. I can actually grab it, and I'll do it slowly, and drop it in here. And you see that little triangle actually says where it's going to drop. I'm going to drop it in those brackets, like so. And then we go OK. As you can see, we now have a formula down here, which is the equivalent of this formula. And the way to know that it's actually a formula, something that is not part of the raw data set, is if I zoom in here, right? Let's zoom in again. You'll see this eensy weensy little equals symbol. All right? And that means it's a formula that I've created. Let's zoom out. Let's get out of my tools. And that's how you do sum of sales. As you can probably guess, it's the exact same method for the other type of aggregates. So for example, let's do count, and we'll do a new one. We'll go sales. I'm going to go create calculated field. Again, I can go count, and I'll go this count, which counts the number of entries, right? And if you ever have something like this, you can always just move sales. You highlight it, you grab it, and you just move it, right? Oh, that actually duplicates it, right? So you can do it like that. You can do a distinct count, and the way distinct count is count, count, and you'll see this count D for distinct. And if you're not sure what count distinct is, I think I did a portion in a previous video, but I'll show you again quickly. If I have, let's say Jed, and then we have John. If I do a regular count, the answer is 6 because there are 6 individual items. If I do a distinct count, the answer is 2 because there are 2 unique values. That is the difference between a regular count and a distinct count, okay? And again, same thing, we can bring that into sales. Most likely distinct count, you would use more for like a dimension, right? So if you have like customer name, for example, how many individual customers do I have? You can use it for that, right? Let's do another one. We can also do maximum and minimum values. Let's say I wanted to know what the maximum sale is. Again, I can do a number of ways. Let's do it this way. Let's bring in max, double click, right? Or we can bring in sales in here. Let's get rid of that bracket, right? And go okay. So now we have maximum sale, and I can bring that in here. So this one is to, and then this is aggregating them again, okay? But that's how we do maximum sales. And same thing for minimum. So I can just change that to minimum, right? And go okay, right? And that's pretty much how you do the aggregates. They're very, very basic. I tend to not do this, mainly because Tableau already has this part where if I drop sales in here, it will automatically do it sales, and I will just convert it from here into one of these ones. And I actually prefer this just because it means I'm not creating more and more entries in my what do you call this, Explorer windows. And in some cases I have 200 of these entries. I don't really need any more than that, which is why I prefer just using this one, right? And a neat little trick before we go is in this sum of sales, if I wanted to change this, I could right click, go measure and change it. But another thing you can do is called edit in shelf, right? This is considered, I think, a shelf, right? Almost like a shelf for books or whatever. And if you double click on this, you can actually see the formula. So if you want to change this to a maximum, you can do that actually in here and go okay, and that will change, right? You can also do other things in here. So if I want the maximum divided by, I don't know, 10,000 units, I can also do it there, right? Then it becomes a new formula. So a lot of things you can do in here. If you don't like double clicking, you can right click and go edit in shelf, same thing. A lot of different ways to do the same stuff, which I really love about Tableau. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you at the next one.